Okay, today I'm going to teach you how to use your calculator. You should have already watched the video about analyzing data, and if you have, then this all looks familiar, even though it's an absolute mess on the screen. And the reason I have it up here is because we're going to calculate with the calculator the mean and the median, and we should get the same number, assuming I didn't make the mistake in the first video. So we're going to use these numbers again, 3, 6, 4, 5, 3, 2, and 4. So if you don't have them written down somewhere, you might want to pause the video and go write them down. But we're going to get the calculator out. We're going to use these again. Okay, so here's our calculator. And I'm going to teach you two different ways to do this. First way, I'm going to teach you with the Scratchpad, and then I'll teach you how to do it with the documents. Okay, so Scratchpad, go ahead and open up your Scratchpad. And the first thing we're going to do is we need to put all of that data into a set. And this is how you do it. Above the parentheses, there's both square brackets and the braces. And we need the braces, so we're going to hit Control, and then we want to put, no, other one. So it's Control, and then it's the right bracket. And now I have a bunch of other stuff up there. So let's delete that and try that again. So Control, right bracket. There we go. There's our braces. And now we can just put our numbers in. So what was our numbers? Our numbers are 3, and then we're going to use the comma, which I forgot where it is. There it is, down here in left. So 3 comma, 6 comma, 4 comma, 5 comma, 3 comma, 2, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so there's our sum numbers, and we got them in there. And now the next thing we need to do is we need to store them as a variable, and you do that with this button right here. It says STO with an arrow, and it happens to be on the variables button. So to get to STO with an arrow, we're going to use the control button again. So hit Control and then the variables button, and it gives us this little arrow, and it's saying I want to take all of this data and I want to store it as a variable. Now you can pick any variable you want. I'd recommend avoiding X, Y, and Z in this case because those are reserved for graphing, but pick any of the other letters you want. I'm going to pick A just to be different, and then you hit Enter, and it will now have it written over here again. And anytime I hit A and hit Enter, it will give me that set of data, because that is what A is now always going to be until you delete A. So we have now had this A, and there it is. So now we're going to do some calculations with it. And the calculations we need to go are under Menu, and you want number 6 statistics, and everything we're going to use is under number 3 list math. So I'm going to do that one more time. So the first thing is it's under, let me get out of this, go back in Scratchpad, Menu, number 6 statistics, and number 3 list math. Okay, and the first one is we want to find the mean. So you click mean, number 3. You could even write this out if you wanted to. And then you type in the letter that you picked, whatever variable, and you hit Enter. And just like before, we had 27 sevenths, and I think that's what I had originally. Hopefully. Yep, 27 sevenths. Okay, if you ever need a decimal, this is how you can do that, is you would say Control, and then the little squiggly lines over Enter, and that will give it to you as a decimal. Okay, so there's your mean is 3.857. Okay, now let's say that I need to know the median. Again, it's going to be under Menu, Statistics, List Math. In this case, we're just going to click number 4 median. Oops, I forgot to get down here. Let's try that again. Menu, Statistics, List Math, number 4 median. And again, pick the variable you chose, and you hit Enter. And it says our median is 4. Now there's some other nice little features in here. If you have a long list and you don't want to figure out what your minimum or maximum are, it will do that for you. There it is, Statistics, List Math. So you could pick either the minimum or the maximum if you wanted to have the calculator identify them for you. And the other one we want to talk about is your standard deviation. And we have two here. There's a sample standard deviation and a population standard deviation. So let me tell you the difference between them, and then we'll let the calculator do the calculations. The population standard deviation is used when you have all of the data. So if I give you a complete list of data and you use all of the data, you're going to use the population standard deviation. You only use the sample standard deviation if you have a sample of the data and not all of it. So for instance, if I wanted to know how many people voted for the Republican in the last election, And I'm not going to ask every single member of the United States. I would have a sample, and I would have to use sample standard deviation. If you did ask everyone in the United States and you had everybody's responses, you would then use population standard deviation. Okay, so population is when you have all of the data, and a sample is when you picked a sample representation of the data to represent everything else. Okay, in most cases, in what we're going to be using population standard deviation. So you're going to click on population standard deviation, and then you simply type in your letter again, and you hit enter, and it will tell you the standard deviation is 1.245. Now, as we talked about in the last video, when the standard deviation is low, that means that your stuff is very close to the median. When the standard deviation is high, it means it's far away from the center. Okay, so this is telling you how close to the center your data point is. In this case, I would say this is probably a pretty low number, so we have very good data. But this is going to be a comparison tool. So you'd have two sets of data and you can compare it, and the one with the lower standard deviation is the one that's going to be a closer fit, that it's around the center of your data. So I promise you there's a couple different ways to do this, so let me show you how to do this without Scratchpad now. So let's say you don't like to store it as a variable. Here's the other way you can do it. You can go to a new document, and if you have an unsaved one, just unsave it. You can go to number 4, add lists and spreadsheets like we did before. And you can even name your variable right up here. We're going to call this one A, and you can put your data in here. And I've already forgotten what our numbers are. There they are. So 3, 6, 4, 5, 3, 2, 4. Okay, so there's all of our data sitting in here, and it's called A. Now, I have to have a separate calculation in here, so we're going to go what's called inserting a document. So it's under Docs right here. You go down to number 4, Insert, and now you need to insert a calculator. Now, this only works if these are linked. So you can see I have 1.1, which is our variable in here, and then 1.2, which is I can do calculations. Okay, if they're not in the same document, then this isn't going to work. Okay, but now that they are, I can go ahead and go to Menu, and I can go to my Statistics, List Math, just like we did before, and we can calculate our mean, and whatever letter you picked at the top, and you hit Enter, and there it does it again. Okay, but like I said, this only works if you've inserted a document, because it's going to take the A that's right here. As a matter of fact, I can show you. Let's change this to B. And then I try to find the mean of A again, and it should not find it. No, apparently it is, but now if I find the mean of B, it should find it. Oh, that's because I didn't save it. Alright, let's go try this one more time. If I do the mean of A, it should not find it. Statistics, List Math. Yeah, we'll go to the median. Median of A. Oh, it's still finding it. Well, that's interesting. When I did this before, it didn't work. Median of B. Alright, well, it might be picking up the A from the other one anyways. I wouldn't hold faith that it's always going to work, but regardless, whatever the letter you have here, if it's a linked document, will work over here. But I can tell you one thing that will not for sure work is, now that you have this stored as B, you can't go back to the Scratchpad and use B. It won't work. And I'll show you it won't. Menu, Statistics, median of B, and it says it has no variable. Okay, so make sure if you're going to use Scratchpad, you have to enter it in this way. Apparently, you could enter it in this way and then go over to a new document for whatever reason you want to, or if you're going to use the new documents, make sure that you have them linked. So if you have any questions, let me know. But make sure that you can find mean, median, and the population standard deviation using your calculator. And those are things you need to memorize how to do. And the reason I'm giving you to this is because on the SAT, you might be able to use your calculator, and this would save you a lot of time, especially standard deviation questions. There's a couple that I've seen on there in the past. So using your calculator saves you tons and tons of time. All right, if you got questions, make sure you ask.